The ilm that is praised in the Qur'an and Sunnah is al-ilm al-shar'i. And there is no view that the other ulum ad-dunyawiyya come into it. This knowledge will make you an imam. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, and this is in two ways. The first type of imam, the ulama, people choose to obey them out of obedience to Allah. Their obedience is because of the love the people have for the knowledge they have. As for the sultan is the one that has the power to force people into obedience. And this is the second type of imam. Their power is such that they are obeyed whether people like it or not. So which one is intended here? Al-imamah in terms of as-sulta or al-imamah in terms of ad-deen?
إن العلماء لم يورثوا درهما ولا دينارا وإنما ورثوا العلم.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على عبد الله ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. We continue with the Ta'iyyah of Abu Ishaq Al-Ilbiri rahimahullah ta'ala. We reached the statement of An-Nazim rahimahullah, أبا بكر دعوتك لو أجبت إلى ما فيه حظك لو أقلت. If I'm not mistaken, in some of the wordings it says in أقلت. However, in and low have basically the same meaning here, so we're not going to trouble ourselves too much with it. We'll just take the one that I have in front of me. أبا بكر دعوتك لو أجبت إلى ما فيه حظك لو أقلت. طيب. أبا بكر, here the taqdeer is يا أبا بكر. And that's what's understood from the grammar here. يا أبا بكر. And the shurrah, those who explained this manzumah, they differed about who Abu Bakr is. So they had some discussion over who is intended here by Abu Bakr. Is Abu Bakr the son of the Nazim rahimahullah ta'ala? Is it a student of his? Is it another person, an unknown person? Is it not intended to be a person at all? So here, the discussion revolves around who is Abu Bakr. It is said, هو ابن الناظم وهذا هو الظاهر المتبادر إلى الذهن والله أعلم. And that's what seems to be apparent, and that's what first comes to your mind when you hear the poem, is that he speaks to him in the way that a father would speak to his son. The rebuke, which is there, the admonishment, the care, the shafaqah, the concern for him. In general, you would probably say that the first thing that comes to your mind is that Abu Bakr here is his son. And that's a view. In all honesty, I don't think his biography is detailed enough to mention the children that he had or to mention who Abu Bakr is. So this is still a guess. It's said that it was a student of his, because the way that a sheikh admonishes their student can be very similar to the way that a father admonishes their son. And again, if it's not his son, probably the next thing that would come to your mind is that it is a student of his, because again of the way, the usloob, the way that he talks, the style of speech, the admonition, the care, is like a father to a son or like a sheikh to a student. It is also said that he was a companion of the poet. And then while they were together studying the religion and they were together with a deep commitment to the religion and far away from the dunya, what happened was that companion of his, that contemporary of his, split from him and began to turn to face the world and began to become engrossed in the affairs of the world. And so he said this to him, admonishing him for that. And while that is possible, it's not impossible. There are indications, isharat, in the poem that the person he's speaking to is relatively young. And I'm going to highlight them when they come. They're not conclusive. It's not like he says you're only a little boy, but there are maybe 2 or even 3 places in the poem where you get a very strong impression that Abu Bakr is young. And if that is the case, then that would negate him being a contemporary of the poet. It is also said that he did not intend a specific person, but he wrote this in order to make you feel as though you are Abu Bakr. You know, we would call it perhaps personification, to make you feel as though you are that. This is a person, you are a person. I don't know if in English they call that personification, but the idea of making it feel like it's a person when in fact it's just a state of people in general. However, this is no doubt khilaf al-mutabadir ila al-dhihni. It goes against what is predominantly sort of what the first thing that comes into your mind. It's quite convoluted to say Abu Bakr isn't a person when he says, that he's not intending any one person, but he's intending people in general. Possible, but again, perhaps we can say more likely to be further away. So it seems, wallahu alam, that Abu Bakr, more likely than not, and we can't say conclusively, is either his son or either his student. And again, if we were to pick from those, once again, I would say that it being his son is more likely. Did he have students? Was he a teacher like that? Or was he just a person who, like a wa'idh, who just gave advice to people? And we know he was a poet. So again, and out of everything, it would appear, based on the qara'in, the clues that we have and the information that we have, that it was his son. And if it turns out that, of course, he didn't have a son, then again, it could be somebody close to him, a relative, like a nephew, it could be a student. And the other things are possible. But once again, they become less likely sort of the further you go down the list. Aba Bakrin da'utuk. I have called you. And that is based upon the command of Allah Azza wa Jal, ud'u ila sabili rabbik bil hikmati wal maw'idhati al hasana wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan. Call to the way of your Lord with hikmah and with a maw'idha hasana, a good way of admonishing people. A maw'idha is that which touches the heart, something which makes your heart shake. And that's how you feel when you listen to the poem. It's a maw'idha. I think you're not doing justice to the poem in just calling it a nasiha. It is a nasiha, but it's also there to shake a person's heart. And so this idea of I'm calling you, this is a maw'idha, this is da'wah, I'm inviting you. لو أجبت, if only you would answer. إلى ما فيه حظك. لو أقلت, to that which contains your hadh. In aqalta, if you used your intellect. Now the word hadh, of course the intellect is a gift from Allah Azza wa Jalla. Al-aqlu sarih, the uncorrupted intellect. It's not corrupted by the shubuhat. It's not being corrupted by philosophy and by all these kind of things that corrupt the way you think. But if you were to think carefully, you, in a pure way, in a sincere way, you would realize that your hadh is in what I am giving da'wah to. Now, the word hadh is a tricky word. Al-hadh, it is an-nasib min al-khayr. And Al-Azhari mentions it. in Tahdhib al-Lugha. Ibn Faris mentions something similar, al-Hadh an-Nasib. So it is your share of goodness. Now, it's true that people use it sometimes in the wrong way. People use it in a way that is kind of good luck, and that's not an appropriate word for a Muslim to use. But the idea of hadh being the portion of good that Allah has decreed for you, there is no issue with that. And here, hadhuka, this is what will bring you happiness if you realize it. This is what will bring you goodness. This is what is going to... And the word hadh is very specific here. If we think about the word hadh in the Qur'an, the word hadh in the Qur'an, it comes in a couple of ayat. More than one, but if we look at the word hadh used like that, for example, if we take the ayah in Surah Al-Qasas, فخرج على قومه في زينته قال الذين يريدون الحياة الدنيا يا ليت لنا مثل ما أوتي قارون إنه لذو حظ عظيم. Qarun came out in front of his people in all of his adornment. Those who wanted the life of this world, they said, how we wish we could be given what Qarun was given. إِنَّهُ لَذُو حَظٍ عَظِيمٍ. He is extremely fortunate. And the interesting thing here is, look at the use of the word hadh. People think of it as a dunya. It's a very clever use of the word. People think of this word as, it means you got a lot in the dunya. ذُو حَظٍ عَظِيمٍ. When in reality, the hadh, which really matters, is your portion of the akhirah. Like the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَمَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا وَمَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا ذُو حَظٍ عَظِيمٍ. And the person who really has a portion of goodness, who has awfar, nasib, the biggest portion of good, is the person who has a sabr. That is the person who is patient upon obeying Allah and keeping away from the haram, and patient upon what Allah decrees. So it's used in that context here. You think that your hadh is in the dunya, and at the moment you're thinking like the people thought about Qarun. إِنَّهُ لَذُو حَظٍ عَظِيمٍ. And Qarun, he's a really lucky guy. And in reality, the fortune that matters, what really matters, is what Allah has decreed for you from the goodness that relates to the akhirah. And in reality, if we think about the difference between this world and the hereafter, if we were to use al-aql al-sarih, al-salim, the aql which is uncorrupted, not corrupted by the love of this world, not blinded by desires or by shubuhat, you would think how small this world is and how insignificant this world is. If we think about the hadith of Sahl ibn Sa'd al-Sa'idi radiyallahu anhu, the hadith is narrated in Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah, in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لو كانت الدنيا تعدل عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى كافرا منها شربة ماء. If this world was worth even the wing of a gnat or a mosquito, it's little fly, if this world was worth in the sight of Allah even the wing of a gnat, Allah would not have given a kafir a drink of water. That's the reality of this world. And you know it and I know it. We know it in the sense that it's not the first time we've heard these ahadith. It's not the first time we've heard the ayat. We know that whatever you gather in this dunya, the wealth you gather and the fame you gather, the power you gather, it's not even worth the wing of a fly. it's worth nothing. So are you really mahzuz? Are you really what people would say lucky or fortunate? I don't like the word lucky. I don't think it's appropriate for a Muslim to use, but just the idea of people saying, oh, you're lucky. Are you lucky because you've been given money? Because you've been able to attain some kind of success in this world? If you really used your aql, you would realize that this dunya, Allah gives it to those that He loves and those that He doesn't. كُلًّا نُمِدُّ هَؤُلَاءِ وَهَؤُلَاءِ مِنْ عَطَاءِ رَبِّكَ وَمَا كَانَ عَطَاءُ رَبِّكَ مَحْظُورًا. As Allah Azza wa Jal says, all of them we give, the wretched and the righteous. We may give wicked people something in the dunya, we may give righteous people something in the dunya. Allah gives the dunya liman ahab wa liman lam yuhib, to those that He loves and those that He doesn't. The dunya is not a measure of whether Allah loves you or not. So if you really want to be someone who is mahfuz, someone who is fortunate, who is, we would say in Islamic terms, blessed, then really the hadh that you need, the nasib that you need, your share, your portion you need is the portion of the akhirah, not the portion of the dunya. أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ. When you now go to the grave and you're buried in the cemetery, then now you realize the reality of what the life of this world was worth. And you realize that there was nothing in this world that was worth giving up your share of the akhirah. So far, the poet, rahimahullah ta'ala, he hasn't specified what the da'wah is yet. That's coming in the next line. Until now, all he's done is to say, I am calling you, Abu Bakr. I'm calling you to that which really, if you want to be ذو حظ عظيم, it's going to be from this. What is it? إلى علم تكون به إماما مطاعا إن نهيت وإن أمرت. I'm calling you to ilm, to knowledge. And that is another one of the primary themes of the poem, is the call to knowledge. Calling you to ilm. And the ilm which is mentioned in the Qur'an and the Sunnah, bil ijma', the ilm that is praised in the Qur'an and Sunnah is al-ilm al-shar'i. And there is no view that the other ulum ad-dunyawiyya come into it. No doubt the other ulum ad-dunyawiyya, the sciences of the dunya, could be beneficial. You could save people's lives. You could by the permission of Allah, you could do a great deal of good for people. You could invent something that makes things easier for Muslims. There's a lot of good that you could do. But those types of knowledge are not included in the rewards and the praise of knowledge which is found in the Qur'an and the Sunnah. إِلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. This ilm is the ilm which is mentioned in the Qur'an and the Sunnah. وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Say, my Lord, increase me in knowledge. This is the ilm which is mentioned in the hadith, the famous hadith of Abi Darda radiyallahu anhu. من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له طريقا إلى الجنة وإن الملائكة لتضع أجنحتها رضا بما يصنع طالب العلم وإن العالم ليستغفر له من في السماوات ومن في الأرض حتى الحيتان في الماء وفضل العالم على العابد كفضل القمر على سائر الكواكب وإن العلماء ورثة الأنبياء وإن الأنبياء لم يورثوا دينارا ولا درهما إنما ورثوا العلم فمن أخذه أخذ بحظ وافر. That's the hadith that comes to mind when we think about this. إلى ما فيه حظك لو أقلت. Whoever sets out on a path seeking knowledge thereby. Bil ijma', the ilm here is ilm al-sharia. It's not ilm al-tib. It's not the knowledge that helps the Muslims, The ilm here is ilm al-kitab wa sunnah. سهل الله له طريقا إلى الجنة. Allah will make his path to Jannah easy. And the angels lower their wings out of pleasure for what the student of knowledge does. And indeed, the scholar, and in some wordings, the student of knowledge, everything in the heavens and the earth seek forgiveness for them, even the fish in the sea. And the virtue of the scholar over the worshipper, not over the fasiq, over the worshipper, the one who prays all night and fasts all day, is like the virtue of the moon over the rest of the stars. The scholars are the inheritors of the prophets, and the prophets do not leave as inheritance gold and silver coins. They only leave knowledge as their inheritance, and the knowledge of the Kitab and the Sunnah. فَمَنْ أَخَذَهُ أَخَذَ بِحَظٍ وَافِرٍ. The word حظ. Whoever takes it has taken an abundant portion. They are truly a person who is blessed. They have taken an abundant portion, a big حظ in their life. إِلَى مَا فِيهِ حَظُّكَ إِنْ أَقَلْتَ. The word حظ then indicates the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hadith of Abu Darda, hadith narrated by Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah and Ahmad. This hadith of Abu Darda radiyallahu ta'ala an shows that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used that word. فَمَنْ أَخَذَهُ أَخَذَ بِحَظٍ وَافِرٍ. This is your hadh now. Your hadh, if you really want to take a hadh which is wafir, an abundant portion, so you have to take knowledge of the Sharia. وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ darajat. Allah will raise those who believe among you and those who've been given knowledge many levels. This knowledge will make you an imam. تَكُونُ بِهِ إِمَامًا. This knowledge will make you an imam. The word imam, what does it mean in the language and how does it come in the Qur'an? The word imam comes from amma ya ummu, and the meaning is, original meaning is the issue of taqaddama, to go forward, to be in front. And the word imam is used for ma'tumma bihi min ra'isin aw ghayrihi. Those people who they are copied or they are taken as an example, they are put in front and used as an example for people, whether in charge of the people or anything else, whether it's the imam who is in charge of the people or whether it is the imam who is in charge of the salah. And that's why there are two types of imamah that are intended here عند أهل السنة والجماعة. And that's why Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, Al-Imam huwa alladhi yu'tammu bihi. The Imam is the one who is followed. In other words, he comes in front of the people and the people copy and follow him. وَذَلِكَ عَلَى وَجْهَيْنِ. And this is in two ways. أحدهما أن يرجع إليه في العلم والدين بحيث يطاع باختيار المطيع لكونه عالما بأمر الله عز وجل وآمرا به فيطيعه المطيع لذلك وإن كان عاجزا عن إلزام الطاعة. He said the first type of imam is that he has imamah in the deen. And this is what the poet means. So his knowledge and his religion mean that people choose to obey him because he knows the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal and he tells people to do them. So people obey him because of that, even though he does not have the power to force people to obey him. So here, what the poet said, إِلَىٰ عِلْمٍ تَكُونُ بِهِ إِمَامًا مُطَاعًا إِن نَهَيْتَ وَإِنْ أَمَرْتَ. that you will be obeyed whether you prohibit or whether you command, the imamah here is not the imamah of al-sayf or as-sulta. It's not the imamah of the sultan. It's not being the leader of the Muslims politically, but it's about being someone who people obey them because they know they have knowledge of the religion. It's a voluntary obedience here. Not in the sense that Allah didn't command it. Allah commanded it. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u ar-rasula wa ulil amri minkum. Allah commanded obedience to ulul amr. And ulul amr, they are al-ulama wal-umara. But there's a difference between them. The ulama, people choose to obey them out of obedience to Allah. No one put a sword on your neck and said, if you don't obey me, I will do this and that to you. Instead, they chose and said, we want to obey them because we recognize that they are telling us what Allah wants us to do. So we obey them out of obedience to Allah, even though we're not forced to obey them. As for the sultan is the one that has the power to force people into obedience. And this is the second type of imam. Shaykh al-Islam, he said, وَالثَّانِي أن يكون صاحب يد وسيف, that he is a person of power and the sword. بحيث طوعا وكرها, people will obey him whether they like it or not. لكونه قادرا على إلزام المطيع بالطاعة, because he has the ability to force people to obey him. وقوله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم, Surah An-Nisa, ayah 59, قد فسر بالأمراء بذوي القدرة كأمراء الحرب وفسر بأهل العلم والدين وكلاهما حق. Shaykh Islam said the tafsir of the ayah يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. أولو الأمر here, there's two tafsir. One is the tafsir that they are the umara. They are those in charge of you. For example, those leading the army. When you're a soldier in the army and you have an amir over you, or you have an amir over the whole of the Muslims, or you have a governor of a province. And it's also said that the tafsir is the people of knowledge and deen, and both of them are true. That's what Shaykh al-Islam said. So here, two important points in the ayah, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. The first one is that the meaning of ulul amri here is al-ulama wal-umara, the scholars and those who are, they have sulta over you, they have authority, power over you. The difference is that those who have power over you, their power is such that they are obeyed whether people like it or not, because of the power that they have. As for the ulama, their obedience is because of the love the people have for the knowledge they have. So which one is intended here? Al-imamah in terms of as-sulta, or al-imamah in terms of ad-deen? Here the poet intends al-imamah fi ad-deen, ila ilmin. And he didn't say, for example, ila sulta takunu bihi imaman, or he didn't say ila quwwatin takunu bihi imaman, and he said ila ilm. So the intended meaning here is the ta'ah of the ulama. And this is the ta'ah which the people give to the ulama, not because of the sulta they have, not because of the authority or the power or the sword or the army, but because of the fact that they recognize that these are the people who are telling you to do what Allah Azza wa Jal wants you to do. So this is the second meaning of the word imam. Let's look at the word imam in the Qur'an, in the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا قَالَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي قَالَ لَا يَنَالُ عَهْدِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 124. When Allah Azza wa Jal said to Ibrahim, I'm going to make you an imam for the people. And he's someone that the people take as an example. And that will be ahead of the people, leading them and showing them the way. He said, what about my offspring? Allah said, my covenant does not extend to the wrongdoers. And all of his offspring, and not, of course, Ismail and Ishaq, alayhim as-salatu was-salam. In the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Again, what is the meaning of make us an imam for the muttaqeen? Is it to ask for power here? Here is to make us an example that is followed by the righteous. So we are ahead. The people look at us and they copy our example, the people who are the muttaqeen. And the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. The statement of Allah Azza wa Jal in Surah Al-Sajdah, and likewise the statement in Surah Al-Anbiya, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا, and in Surah Al-Qasas, وَنَجَعَلُهُمْ أَئِمَّةً وَنَجَعَلُهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ. Also in the negative sense it came, فَقَاتِلُوا أَئِمَّةَ الْكُفْرِ إِنَّهُمْ لَا أَيْمَانَ لَهُمْ. For this word, the idea of taking, being an example, being someone who is copied, this is the meaning here. إِلَىٰ عِلْمٍ تَكُونُ بِهِ إِمَامًا مُطَاعًا إِن نَهَيْتَ وَإِنْ أَمَرْتَ. And that tells you that the scholars, they have an obedience here. And that obedience of the scholars, as we mentioned, is one which comes about because of the knowledge they have, and is not connected to whether or not they have power or whether they have authority, but it's connected to their knowledge of the religion. And that is what the poet is calling Abu Bakr to. إِلَىٰ عِلْمٍ تَكُونُ بِهِ إِمَامًا مُطَاعًا إِن نَهَيْتَ وَإِنْ أَمَرْتَ. That's what Allah Azza wa Jal made easy for me to mention, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. وَالصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّد وَعَلَى آلِهِ وَصَحْبِهِ أَجْمَعِينَ.